Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two-Man Game. As always, I'm Cone. I've got Ryan here as well. And today we're going to be talking NBA playoffs. There is still one playing game that has to be finished up as we record this, but I'm flying to Oklahoma City tomorrow to go see the Thunder play a couple of playoff games. So this is the time we're doing it. The only game that hasn't wrapped up is Pelicans versus Kings. The Heat just waxed the Chicago Bulls to go ahead and get that win. So we're going to go through, make our full playoff predictions. But first, I got to ask Ryan, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. My Sixers aren't going to Cancun just yet, so not too shabby, man. Nick Batum's the savior. Shout out my boy. We love the country of France. I just really proud of the way the boys battled back because I really thought it was in the gutter. I made a bet to go eat some really unhealthy food with my friend Matt because I didn't think we were going to win, and I'm trying to diet. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'll go get a milkshake with you if the Sixers come back and win. This is when they were down like a bunch at half, and I was just like, dang it. Well, I guess they won, so it's okay. I actually was going to go to the game in Philly tonight. I was going to take a road trip up there, but I had a pretty nice day of being outside, so I'm kind of glad that they didn't lose because then I got to be outside all day, and I still get to watch them. So can't go to see them with you in New York, one, because you won't be there, and two, because it's expensive. But some boys are trying to convince me to go up next Thursday, so we'll see if I can make that happen. But ready for the playoffs, man. The game's been fun. Really, the only game that really hasn't been fun are these freaking Bulls games.
Yeah, I mean, Warriors Kings was fun for a little bit, and then it kind of turned into a blowout. But Lakers Pelicans was amazing. Heat Sixers was a fantastic game, as Ryan alluded to. Nick Batum went berserk, had 20 points, 6 threes, like a random Batum renaissance out of nowhere. It's like he space jammed maxing Embiid's powers for like a quarter. It was crazy. So shout out to him. The Sixers grabbed the 7 seed. Heat win tonight. They grabbed the 8 seed. So every team is set except for, again, one of Sacramento or New Orleans will be set up to play my favorite team, the Thunder. But I don't think that's going to really affect how we feel about these playoff series or anything. So we're just going to go ahead and talk about them. So let's go ahead and get into it. Not waste too much time. I know Ryan's going to be up ridiculously early tomorrow morning. So let's get into it. The NBA has this Pick'em bracket challenge predictor here that you can do. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this as I hear Ryan's dog Luna barking a little bit in the background there.
Oh, no. Is it bad?
It's not bad. It's light. I do want to say, I think you might be using the wrong mic. Like it might be on the wrong setting.
No, there's no way.
There's no way? It doesn't sound like you usually do.
Uh-oh. Oh, man, we are on the wrong mic.
Holy my God. Ryan.
Wait. Yeah, we're on the webcam. Oh, that's embarrassing.
It's not the work. Weirdly, the webcam is holding up better than I thought it was going to.
Hold on. Let's hear. You explain what the bracket looks like while I work on my sound.
I'll explain it real quick. So we're going to go through the all first round, all second round, and then the conference finals and finals, as you would expect. First round, we have Thunder versus winner of Pelicans and Kings, the Clippers against the Dallas Mavericks, the Timberwolves against the Suns, the Nuggets versus the Lakers, and then in the East, this hasn't updated yet, but it is confirmed, Celtics versus Heat, Cavaliers versus Magic, Bucks, Pacers, and Knicks versus Sixers. So those are our matchups for this year's playoffs. Again, it's just if you Google NBA playoff bracket, pick 'em or something like that, this should come up if you want to make your own picks. I think there's like a bracket challenge pool kind of thing you can do too. We're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be going through and trying to come to a consensus on some of these picks. We might disagree, but eventually we'll go with something, I guess, that we kind of come to the middle on. So, yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I guess we'll see how it goes from here. And yeah, I think Ryan is fixing the mic at the moment. He also looks frozen on my end, so I think we may have lost Ryan. It is now just me. I've lost Ryan. And Ryan is back, now with a newly fixed mic. Ryan, say hello.
And a silent dog, hopefully.
And Luna has stopped barking at the weather. Okay, so I explained the bracket. We'll go ahead and go through it. And I guess we'll just start at the top up here with the Oklahoma City Thunder against the winner of the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans. I guess I'll talk about this a little bit real quick because obviously it's my favorite team. I think these are both the best possible matchups for this squad. I'm not really worried that much about the Pelicans or Kings, especially with the development with the Pelicans that Zion Williamson got hurt, which really sucks. You know, it would have been awesome to see a full series of him going up against the Thunder and as well as in this playing game against the Kings. If I've got to predict who wins this one, I think I'm going to say that Sacramento gets the win. They are missing Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter, which really hurts them too. But I just think without Zion, with how beat up Brandon Ingram looked last game and CJ McCollum really struggling, I just don't think they're going to have enough firepower to take down the Sacramento Kings. So, especially because they're coming off the high of that win over the Golden State Warriors. So I am going to pick Sacramento to win this game. And I think if it's against the Pelicans without Zion, I think we win in 4 or 5. I give them 5, I think. And against the Kings, I think we also win in 5. So either way, I think I'd go Thunder in 5. I think the Pelicans with Zion would have put up a good fight. I probably would have picked Thunder in 6 in that matchup, but I just don't think either of these teams can reliably compete with the Thunder with the absences they have right now across the rosters.
Yeah, I didn't realize CJ McCollum was the worst possible play-in player. Like I saw some stat
He's
where
been
it was
awful.
I saw some, like CJ in the play-in games is so bad. Like he's putting up crazy tornado stats. But I agree with you, man. I think if Zion was healthy, I think the Pelicans could probably have a pretty competitive series with the Thunder. But I think the Kings also win this game. Keon Ellis is looking good. Fox and Sabonis are arguably probably could be the 2 best players in the game with how beat up Ingram is and how terrible CJ has been in these types of situations. So with all those factors, I think the Kings pretty handily win this game. And I think Sabonis might give you all some trouble down low, but otherwise I think Thunder in 5 probably.
Yeah, they don't have anybody that can reliably slow down Shea. No one that can slow down Jalen Williams. Like Keon Ellis is a great defender, but he was the primary guy in Shea last game, and he got some great contests. He just doesn't have the height. Shea had 40 last game. And then the game before that, when we played the Kings, Shea had, I think, like 32 or 34, his typical stuff. And then J-Dub had like a 30-point near triple-double. They just don't have enough reliable defenders. And with how good the Thunder's defense is, I just don't know if they can maintain enough offense going up against great defenders all over the place. You know, Fox is probably going to get some of his. And if they have some hot shooting nights, maybe they could pull out a win or two. I just don't think it's going to be enough against a team that's just way better on both sides of the ball in OKC. So what do you think of Thunder in 5?
Yeah, I'm with it.
Okay.
Also, I'm definitely going to have some I can already tell you I'm going to have vastly different opinions than you on some of these. So I don't think we're going to agree, but
that's okay. We'll try and figure it out. But, you know, I think this one's pretty easy. I know a lot of people have talked about the Thunder being a fake 1 seed and stuff like that. We'll talk about how they'll play it in the second round, which will be against the winner of the Los Angeles Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. This is one of the most interesting series out of any of them. The big news coming into it is that Kawhi Leonard is seemingly not going to play game 1. He might be back for game 2 and beyond that, but game 1, it feels like he's probably going to be out. It's not confirmed, but I think someone said that, I think it was Tyronn Lue said that he hasn't even been cleared for contact quite yet, and the game's 2 days away. So I would imagine Kawhi isn't there for game 1, which is scary.
If he's not cleared for contact, I don't think he plays the first 2.
I would say at least not 1. I think game 2 would be Tuesday, so that's a few days away, and it's Kawhi. You know, he does some crazy stuff. But this is what always happens with the Clippers. They reach the playoffs, you know, they'll play great for the full season, and then they'll just kind of struggle when they get to this point to stay healthy, keep guys on the court. It's concerning. So I've kind of made some of my thoughts known on my channel about how I feel about this series. My opinions haven't changed too much since that, but I'll let you go ahead and give some of your thoughts real quick before I dive into mine.
Pretty much playoff Jimbo is kind of a fraud, so I don't really like him having to be the one option. And we've seen Pandemic P kind of go off and on depending on what's the situation's been. So, and without Kawhi, who's kind of like the certified playoff killer on this roster, I really am leaning towards the Mavericks. They're coming into the series very, very hot. Luka and Kyrie have been playing fantastic basketball, and it seems like all their trade line, all their trade line acquisitions are starting to mesh together. It looks like, and the chemistry looks like it's better than it has been. So I just think now they have their rotations kind of like settled in that they're playing really well. I think the Mavericks are going to end up taking it with the Clippers' health in question and the fact that I'm rooting on their downfall and that they have some playoff chokers in their lineup. So I'm going Mavericks in 6.
Yeah, the Kawhi thing is the scary part to me. And that's part of why I think I picked Mavericks in 7 going into it in my series preview video, which was at the beginning of the week. I'm still feeling pretty similar, either 6 or 7 games for the Mavericks. I just do think if Kawhi misses any significant time, it's going to be really hard for the Clippers to get any wins without Kawhi. He is like the guy for them, like you mentioned, one of the best playoff performers in modern history. He's locked down the perimeter. They need him to try and slow down Luka Doncic as well and all their great shooters out there. One of my big concerns is if they just try and force the ball to Luka's hands as much as possible. Like PJ Washington hasn't shot great since coming over to Dallas. Dante Exum's been an above 50% shooter from deep, which is amazing, but it hasn't been on a lot of attempts. Like Derrick Jones Jr. is a bit hit or miss. We know Tim Hardaway Jr. can either be fantastic or the worst player in the game.
Yeah.
So they do have some volatility with their role players, which they kind of always have had. But I do think with the way that Luke and Kyrie are gelling, that gives them a little bit of a more stable floor nowadays than they've been in the past. As well as, you know, Gafford down low is a big lively. That lob threat is always going to be there. they might have some problems against the Clippers at times trying to guard them on the defensive end. But if Kawhi Leonard's not there, I just don't think the offense is going to be enough. Like maybe James Harden has a game like he did last year against the Celtics without Joel Embiid, and the Sixers went out to go ahead and get the win. He could have one of those games. Paul George could have some big games, but you're also going up against Luka, who has the second highest point per game average in playoff history. He is not only a playoff riser, he is a superstar in the playoffs, unlike many players we've seen before. We know what Kyrie can do. He's struggled a little bit in his recent playoff career, but now playing next to a guy like Luka, I think he'll be perfectly fine. He's been really good for them off ball. I just think the Mavericks are clicking way more. Like if this was the Clippers earlier in the season, like that early January kind of stretch where they look like the hottest team in the league and they got up to the 1 seed, this would be a different story. But now with the way that these two teams have been playing as of late, the Mavericks have way more momentum. So I think I'm also doing Mavericks. I am cool if you want to do 6 games or 7 games, because I think the Kawhi thing is really scary to me.
I think 6. I think the Mavericks. I don't think the Clippers. If Kawhi's not playing, I don't think the Clippers win any games. But assuming he comes back, I think they'll someone 6.
Okay, we'll go with Mavericks in 6. If Kawhi was fully healthy, how would you feel? Would you still go Mavericks?
I'm biased, so yes, but I think it'd be very competitive.
Ryan really likes Luka. I don't know where I'd lean if Kawhi was fully healthy. I think I might still go Mavs in 7, but it's like right there. To me, I think the Mavericks really have to go in there and steal game 1 or also game 2 if Kawhi's missing, get at least one of those games if he's out. And from there on, I think they can really take advantage of having the home court and just like Luka will be the best player in the series unless Kawhi is reaching his 100%. And that's the thing too, when Kawhi comes back, we don't even know how good he's going to be because he has a history of knee injuries. There's been a lot of inflammation. He could miss some more time. PG and Harden are liable to those flare-ups at times throughout the playoffs too. So it's just scary. I feel safer in picking the Mavericks right now than the Clippers. So
here's where I get volatile.
All right. Well, next up, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Phoenix Suns. I'll give some of my thoughts real quick, and then I'll let Ryan throw out his agendas. This one's crazy to me. Like, this is the worst possible outcome for Minnesota because this is a team that all season has thrived off their defense, specifically with Rudy Gobert guarding the paint. You cannot get down low against this team. It's really hard. And they also love to shut you off at the three-point line. Basically, their defensive goal all season has been to force teams into tough mid-range jumpers.
And
they then go up against the team that is by far the best at knocking down tough mid-range jumpers with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. And not only that, but Beal is playing the best basketball he has as a Sun towards the end of the season. Kevin Durant and Booker are really starting to gel. Grayson Allen is a crazy three-point threat. So now, unlike last year where they went up against the Nuggets and you could really key in on those scores and you could like ignore the outside shooters, you can't leave Grayson Allen open because if you do, he's going to torch you. The cat injury is concerning. There are just a lot of things that really worry me about this Wolves team. But at the same time, they have been the better team all season. Anthony Edwards is a big-time playoff riser. We've seen it in the past. And then again, conversely for the Wolves, which hurts them even more, is that Anthony Edwards has been really bad against the Suns this season. Like easily the team that he's been the worst against. Maybe that won't be the case going into the playoffs, having Cat back. Maybe they'll be okay. We saw that the Wolves really struggled against Phoenix in that final game of the season. It's a terrible draw. I think if the Wolves had drawn basically any of those other teams below them, I think they would have had a better shot again, or it would have been easier maybe if they went up against the Lakers because that's a team that plays a little bit more into their strengths. I think they definitely would have been better against the Warriors or the Pelicans or the Kings. The Suns are the worst possible matchup for this team. So those are some of my thoughts. In my video, predicted Phoenix in 7, I think is what I went with when I made my series preview earlier in the week. I'm kind of down on the fence about whether I think Minnesota can actually still pull it off in 7 or if I still want to stick with Phoenix. I know where you're going to go with this, so I'll let you go ahead and get your takes off for a moment, and then I'll give some of my thoughts.
Phoenix in 6. Pretty much everything you said. Rudy Gobert has been played off the floor in a lot of playoff series. Basically what you said, the Suns played all the weaknesses that the Wolves have. And I just think when you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, you arguably have the 2 best players in the series. And when that's the case, you win the series. So Suns in 6 or 7, I don't care.
Yeah, man. I don't want to pick against the Wolves because I think this team's really good.
Very fraudulent. Let's go Suns.
I think I am okay to go with the Phoenix Suns. This really is the worst possible matchup. Yep, I genuinely think if they had gotten any of the other teams below Phoenix, they would have been fine and won the series. But this is just, it's awful, especially because I wouldn't be surprised if they might have to try and bench Cat at some point in this series, because I think Phoenix, and they've done this all year, they're going to go at him repeatedly, put him in actions and pick and rolls. They're going to target Cat not only because he's not a great defender, but also because he's just coming off an injury. So if his offensive impact isn't doing enough to offset how much they're attacking him defensively, they may have to have some moments where they put Nickeil Alexander-Walker in there to give them a little bit more defensive versatility out there at the wing position. It's concerning. This is going to be a massive series for Minnesota. And if they lose this, like, what do? They might have to trade Cat. Like, they've got to make some major change if they lose in the first round. So I don't know. It's also going to be up to Jaden McDaniels to slow Kevin Durant. You know, there's that video of Anthony Edwards saying they got Kevin Durant, but we've got Jaden McDaniels. They're going to need that in this. So I think I'm going to go
for me.
I think I'm going to go Phoenix in 7.
That's fine.
It hurts. Part of me feels like I'm overthinking it too much.
No, the Wolves aren't winning that series. That's a guarantee. Like Charles Barkley said.
No, we can't do the Chuck guarantee. He's not here. Okay, then we have the Denver Nuggets against the Los Angeles Lakers, rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. The Nuggets have had the Lakers number pretty heavily over the past few years. Where are you leaning on this one?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a sweep like last year. I think the Lakers are going to steal some games. The Nuggets look kind of sluggish out of the stretch, but they've had some time off, so maybe they've kind of reworked like their issues that they were kind of facing at the end of the season. But I don't know, man. The Nuggets, they're still very good, but they just don't strike the fear into me that they used to. Like, there's like this devil on my shoulder that's just saying pick the Lakers, which honestly, if this was my bracket and I wanted to just like make a crazy pick, I probably would pick the Lakers. But because I know there's no way in hell that you're picking them, I will oblige. But I do think this goes to 6 or 7 games. I think it's a very good series.
I will say I've come around on the Lakers a little bit more in this series as of late. My first thought was the Nuggets are going to sweep them a game or win in 5. I think I'm now down to go with Nuggets in 6. I don't think the Lakers have what it takes to take down Denver. They just don't have an answer for Nikola Jokic. He has torched them every time. AD is one of the best defenders in the world. It never matters because Jokic is the best player in the world. And Jamal Murray is going to attack that backcourt relentlessly. I don't know if they can slow him down. They're going to need this offense to be the way it has over the past few months, where it's been one of the better ones in the league. They've taken a step back defensively, which worries me a little bit. What version of D'Lo are we going to see? Because last year he was really bad in the playoffs, even though he's been good this year down the stretch of the season. Although he struggled a little bit towards the end of the year in April, but right around the deadline to March, he was fantastic, been one of their best players. They need a lot out of him. They're going to need LeBron to defend and score at the same time. And he's not been great defensively this season. Of course, the offense is still there. I just think the Nuggets have too much talent at this point. They're going to overwhelm them. I have come around a little bit more. I think it is going to be a tougher series than some people are giving it credit for, but I am still going to go with the Nuggets for sure. I'm down to go 6 games.
Yeah, I can rock with that. I do think, though, if like I had to pick any series out of like all these for like a potential upset as in like 1-8 or 2-7, this is the one I would pick. Well, other than another one that's coming up.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that's what
you no, because that's not an upset because they're technically favorites, so.
We'll get to that in a moment. Okay.
I don't think
let's feel like a bracket where just in terms of seeding, there could be a lot of upsets.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. Okay. Over in the Eastern Conference, we have the 1-seeded Celtics, and now they've updated as we record this, against the 8-seeded Miami Heat. I know there are a lot of people who are going to say, oh, Miami, like they've got the Celtics number. This is going to be an upset. I think the Celtics sweep them.
I think here's my prediction. The Heat win game 1. Everyone calls the Celtics massive frauds, and then they beat the living crap out of them the next 4 games. That's gonna be my prediction.
I could see that. That's kind of like the
DJ Augustine game against the Bucks for the Magic. DJ Augustine don't get swept.
I was also gonna say it was like the Blazers in the bubble against the Lakers, where people were talking about, oh, this is the best 8 seed ever, and then Dame went out there and cooked them for game 1 and got the win, and then the Lakers like trounced them in the next 4.
Yep.
So I could see something like that.
Celtics in 5. We can talk more about them as they get against some of these better teams, I think. But for now, I think everyone knows how good the Celtics are. So
yeah,
they might have a little bit of like break issues, because they've been, not playing in so long. It feels like they probably haven't played meaningful basketball in forever since they've had the 1 seed locked up since January, pretty much.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm down to go in 5. If I had to pick something, I might say a sweep. But the Heat do just have that power of friendship that always seems to get them at least a game. Jimmy Butler, we don't know if he's going to come back in this series. If he doesn't, it's a disaster. But if he does come back, Jimmy's done some crazy stuff before. I mean, he played the second half of the Sixers game on a torn MCL, or sprained MCL, whatever it was.
I was saying torn MCL, homie's not coming back next game.
sprained MCL. He's done some crazy stuff in the past. Jimmy's incredible, so we'll go to 5. The Celtics like to troll a little bit.
Yeah, I do think that Miami will give them a little bit more issues because if they can employ that zone that they put against Philly, I could see Boston kind of going like, I don't know, just kind of like you know what I mean? That's why I think they're going to steal a game. They're going to put that silly zone that they put on Philly that made Philly look like they had never played basketball. Like people were saying that Nick Nurse had never looked so unprepared in his life. Like that zone against Philly in like the second half of the first quarter into the second quarter was one of the craziest like offensive collapses I've ever seen. So it'll be interesting to see if Spo kind of pulls some crazy tactics like that against Boston.
Yeah, that's what Spo does too. He always finds a way to make things competitive, way more competitive than they should be. So yeah, I'm down with that. That was a disgusting game. Okay. Next up, we have
disgusting.
This is right on cue. Cavaliers versus Magic. This is a series that I'm pretty sure almost all the games are going to be on NBA TV. I think I saw the schedule. It's not a big name series, but I think it's one that's going to be really fun. If you want like grinded out, physical, disgusting basketball, this is the series you need to pay attention to because these two teams are going to put up like 80 points apiece on any given night. It's going to be gross. It's going to be low scoring. And I think it'll be kind of fun. It'll be a good contrast to like Bucks Pacers, which we'll talk about in a moment. That's going to be high scoring. I think like Clippers Mavericks could be pretty high scoring as well. This is going to be a good like physical type of series. The Cavs, Darius Garland specifically said today that to prepare for this, then their physicality, they've been like being extra physical with each other in practice, like throwing elbows and things like that.
They're beating each other up in practice.
Yeah, I don't know if
you know those drills in football where you run at each other and you tackle each other? That's what they're doing in practice. They're just running into each other in practice.
Yeah, they're getting ready to get tackled by Jonathan Isaac and Jalen Suggs on the perimeter. So it's cool. They're prepping a little bit for the Magic. This is a massive series for them. This is the first time they've been back to the playoffs in a little bit. The first one for Paolo and Franz in that group. What are some of your thoughts on this one?
I think I've talked about this at length. Everyone should pick the Cavs based on what their roster looks like on paper, but because they just have not played together because there's been so many injuries in and out of the lineup, and even now that they're relatively healthy, I'd say I don't think they have any major injuries coming into the series, but they have guys that are either coming off of a bad injury or have not looked the same. Like Darius Garland has been kind of on and off, especially like scoring wise. Like when Mitchell was missing some of those games, like Garland wasn't putting up like crazy offensive numbers or some of those other guys having to contribute, which is fine. Like it's not like Garland has to do the scoring, but I just feel like someone's gonna have to step up because the Magic are so well-rounded defensively. I know Donovan Mitchell is a playoff riser, so if he goes back to his bubble voodoo from back in the day, and really every playoff series he's ever played, and he's been pretty good. So I think if Donovan Mitchell levels up like he normally does in the playoffs, and just someone else on the Cavs has a decent series, I think the Cavs take this pretty easily. It'll just be interesting to see if like Paolo and Franz are up to the challenge. Because when you get into the playoffs, you can't be putting up like you were talking about the Heat with the power of friendship. I feel like the Magic are kind of like that too in a way because they all put up like 15 to 20 points and just play hard. But it's not going to work in the playoffs. You're going to have a dude type of game. You know what I mean? Like you can't just have everyone putting up 15 to 20. Someone's going to have to be going off, and that's what we'll be waiting to see. I guess we'll see if Paolo's got it in him.
Yeah, this is going to be big for Paolo. That's kind of how I feel about this series too. I do think the Cavs win, but it's going to be a physical, grinded out kind of series. I think it'll go to 5 or 6 games. I think I might lean 6 just because I do think the Magic have what it takes to really muck this series up, be physical. Like you said, the Cavs have been dealing with some injuries. They haven't played together a ton. Garland and Mitchell haven't been great as a backcourt this season. Garland in particular, not his best year. So I'm going to go with it in 6, I think.
Yeah, I'm with it in 6.
The Magic, it's their first series. They really haven't been here before, and they have that clear weakness. They're not a good offensive team at all. As great as they are defensively, they can throw Jonathan Isaac at Donovan Mitchell. They can throw Jalen Suggs out there as well on like Darius Garland. They've got great defenders all over the place, and I think it's going to be enough to make this a really annoying series for the Cavaliers, way more difficult than I think they were hoping for when they purposefully lost the last game of the season to face Orlando, which also gives them a bit of like bulletin board material to kind of amp them up for this series. Like, hey, this team wanted us, so we're going to give them a fight. I think the Cavs still get out of it, but it's going to be more than they were asking for.
I agree.
All right. Now these two are both very interesting. Bucks versus Pacers first. Just dropped a video talking about this on my channel. This is one that is also a lot like the Clippers Mavericks series because of a big injury that could affect the beginning of it with Giannis. At the very least, he's going to miss game 1. It seems like there's a real chance he misses game 2 as well and doesn't come back till a bit later in the series, which is concerning because Dame hasn't been the typical Dame we know throughout the season. The efficiency's been down. The aggression has varied at times. Now, he has been really good when Giannis hasn't played. He's averaged like 30 points per game on pretty good efficiency. But in the games that he played against the Pacers this year, and this is something I found when doing research for my video, I knew he kind of struggled, but it was bad. Against the Pacers, he just put up 20.3 points per game on really rough efficiency in the 4 contests against them, which is concerning. Chris Middleton is going to have to be big. Bobby Portis has been putting up like 22 and 10 in the games that Giannis hasn't played, so he's going to have to be huge. I don't think the Bucks are dead in the water by any means, but like this is a team that struggled defensively all season, and now they're missing their best defender in Giannis out there going
and offensive player and pretty much best everything.
Yeah, best everything pretty much in Giannis, the guy who's carried this team the whole season. Like it's, you know how crazy it is that the Bucks didn't win 50 games. If I told you before the season that Milwaukee wasn't going to win 50 games, you with no major injuries, really, like obviously guys who missed time here and there, but like Giannis and Dame played basically the whole season and they still didn't win 50. That's crazy. They've went.
What was the record when they hired Doc?
I think it was.
Didn't they have 30 wins when they hired Doc? Because I'm pretty sure
I think it was like 35 or something like that.
I think they were 30 and like some 30 and like in the teens for losses. I think.
Let me find Doc Rivers or no Adrian Griffin. I think it was like January like 13th or something like that when he was fired. 30 and 13 is when he was fired. So they went 19 and 20, I think, over the last 39 games. That would be.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So they went one game below 500. I knew they went below 500 under Doc. The defense looked a little bit better at times, but it also kind of waned here and there. I don't know. This is greatly concerning because this is another case where this feels like, and I feel like this is the case for a lot of teams. They got like one of the worst possible matchups with a fast-paced team that has nothing to lose, and they've given them problems all year. It's concerning. And, you know, the Pacers did beat them 4 times out of 5 this year. Now, I will say that all happened before Doc was hired and before the Pacers got Pascal Siakam. Like, there's nobody healed on this team anymore. There's no or the Bucks now have like Patrick Beverley over there, who I imagine will get the Tyrese Halliburton assignment. So we'll see what happens.
That should be fun.
That should be very fun. There was the whole game ball incident where Giannis had 60. Like, they lost 4 games to this Pacers team, and in those games, Giannis was averaging over 40 points per game. He had a 60 and a 50 piece, and they only won one of those games. So this is not a very good matchup for them. I do still think the Bucks can come out of it, but I'm like greatly concerned for them.
If Giannis doesn't play, and even if he does play, man, because we've talked about this, and if you're not like a big anatomy person, essentially, if you have a calf injury, your Achilles is at high risk for getting ultra effed. See KD, see Aaron Rodgers, like those types of guys. So I think even if Giannis is back, he's not going to be at full strength. Like the fact that he's like, because Giannis is one of those dudes, if he was even like 50%, I think he'd be playing. You know what I mean? So the fact that he's like definitely out to start the series, I think that's really concerning. Even if he does come back, I don't think he's going to be at full strength. And like you were saying, the Pacers are all run and gun. You're going to have a guy that has like half his leg going at this fat. I don't know, man. I just don't really see it. I think the Pacers are going to end up winning the series. I think they have, with how Dame has been playing, there's a chance they could have the 2 best players on the court at any given moment, unless Dame really turns back the clock and gets some playoff voodoo magic back. But Chris Middleton is unreliable. Brook Lopez has been kind of wishy-washy. Like you said, Bobby Portis has been stepping up. But am I taking Bobby Portis over Siakam, Halliburton, and those guys in Indy? I don't think so. So I think Pacers in 6. That
Pacers in 6 is what I went with in my video earlier today.
So,
and it's, if Giannis was healthy, I think I'd take the Bucks in 6.
Yep.
But I think we just don't know when Giannis is coming back. I'm down to go.
I don't think he's going to play. I think here's what's going to happen. I think the Pacers, and I really hope this doesn't happen. I think the Pacers are going to go up 2-0. They're going to rush Giannis back, and it's going to get ugly. So I hope that doesn't happen. But I just
that's another thing too, because it's not like Giannis just has like he like broke a finger or something like that, and he could like theoretically come back. This is a very scary injury with the calf. He's got to be careful, and you can't.
It's just something he would miss a month for if this was like in the season. Like he would be out 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you can't risk anything major. I don't know, man. It's concerning. So I guess we're going with another upset with the seeding. We've done, I guess, only 2 of those so far.
3 upsets.
Yeah, I mean, We got another chance for an upset here. Knicks versus Sixers. This is one I'll let you go ahead and get your takes off real quick about this matchup, and then I'll go ahead and give my thoughts. So,
Jalen Brunson's an absolute beast, but Joel Embiid, they don't really have an answer for him on the Knicks. And I know he had a really cruddy game against the Heat, but he really did step up when it mattered. And I do think that Embiid never really does good against the Heat. If you've ever watched Embiid against Miami, I don't think he's ever really been the dude against them. Really, them and Boston are just two teams that have historically kind of owned him, just whether it's who they have on their roster personnel wise or just how their coaches attack him. But I really do think that Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitch Robinson really aren't going to hang. Whenever Embiid plays Mitchell Robinson, it seems like he has 3 fouls in 5 minutes pretty much every single time. So I do think that if Embiid is feeling good, which other than the playing game, I thought he was looking really, really good to end the season. So I think with him and Maxey and just the way the Sixers have kind of been clicking, I know that game was really ugly, but when you have a historically awful offensive start and you still win the game, I think that's pretty telling. Good teams win those bad games. So I personally think Philly's going to come out. I just think missing Julius Randle, if Jalen Brunson's not averaging 35 a night, I don't think the Knicks can win, which he totally could with the way he's been playing. I just think they're going to be missing that second fiddle. I don't think Dante DiVincenzo can be your second best player and you win a playoff series. But the Sixers have done stupider in the past, so I don't think that's even a proper English word. But they've done horrible things in the playoffs.
It's they have done stupider in the past.
However, and we didn't even mention in the last segment about the Pacers that the Bucks are also down Giannis and coached by Doc Rivers. So I mean, those two combined, that summation factor is pretty bad. So I'm going Philly in 7 just because the Vibes are my favorite team, and I do think that overall wise, they have the more star power, and that Jalen Brunson it's going to be really tough for him to carry the load. And I do think, and I saw this on another podcast earlier today, that I think they're really going to attack Brunson on the defensive end, try to wear him out so he can't carry on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's going to come down to what does Embiid look like, because he had some great games in the regular season, had a couple of shakier ones, did not look good against the Miami Heat. Although, again, like Ryan said, at the end of the game, he made some massive plays, hit a couple of threes, had that big and one.
The defense looked really good too at the end there. I didn't mention that either. His defense did not get enough credit at the end. He was disrupting like a mofo out there at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a couple possessions. One thing I worry about him is his conditioning going up against a really physical Knicks team, because they do have Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson to throw at him. And, he's given Mitchell Robinson foul trouble in the past, it feels like. But Hartenstein's fantastic. He's going to be starting in this. He's a bit more disciplined. I think their physicality and how Embiid handles that is going to be a big factor in this. Plus, they've got a lot of wings that they can throw at Joel Embiid to kind of muck things up with. OG Anunoby getting in there, trying to get in the passing lanes. They're going to front him in the post, I imagine. You'll have Dante DiVincenzo out there trying to get into things. Miles McBride when he comes in. Josh Hart, of course. They've got a lot of scary defenders, but one of my big concerns about the Knicks is, like you said, who is the reliable scorer outside of Jalen Brunson, because they don't have a lot of shot creation on that team right now with that injury. And the Sixers are a really good defensive team. They showed that against the Miami Heat, who are also just a bad offense in general, but they've been a good defensive team the entire season. When Embiid has played, they're 32-8 on the season, and they've got some crazier record. I think when him and Maxey play, it's 30 something and 6 or something like that. Yeah. It's crazy. Those two guys when they're on the court have been basically unbeatable. My question is, what is Embiid going to look like? And that's my concern with the Sixers team. I think if I knew Embiid was going to be 100%, I would pick the Sixers hands down, no question. In my video earlier this week, I picked the Knicks to go ahead and win this in 7 games. I've still been on the fence with that. I could go really either way. To me, it's just going to come down to who's the best player in the series. Is it Joel Embiid or is it Jalen Brunson? Because Embiid isn't 100%. If Brunson's doing his typical stuff out there, I imagine Nick Nurse, because we've seen Nick Nurse in the past say that I will not let your star player score. He's going to pull out his old Embiid rule book type thing where he went up against him with the Raptors. He's going to pull out that kind of strategy. I would imagine just do whatever he can to get the ball out of Brunson's hands and make everybody else cook. And if they can effectively do that, I think the Knicks get put in a tough spot, because they're not going to, Dante was great all season, but I worry a little bit about him in terms of being your secondary shot creator, as well as OG Anunoby, who's had some of those moments, but isn't super reliable in those playoff series. This is where I think Randall's absence could really come into play. It's concerning. So I really think this could go either way. Like I said, I picked Knicks in 7 earlier this week. I think I am cool to go Sixers in 7 if you want to.
Yeah,
so
do it for me.
I'll do it for mine. I do think whoever wins this has a great shot at going to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, whoever wins this is going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think.
Well, don't spoil anything.
No, we're spoiling it.
Don't spoil anything. We'll see. Okay, we'll go back up to the top and we'll do Thunder versus Mavericks. Unless you want to go from the bottom and like kind of switch it up.
We can do bottom.
Okay, let's switch it up. Let's talk about the series we're already going to talk about. First of all, we have a 6-7 down here and a 6-2 here and a 1-5. Like, crazy amount of upsets are possible in this year's playoffs. It's ridiculous. But a 6-7 matchup between the Pacers and Sixers in this bracket, I think we would both go the Sixers in this matchup.
I agree.
I just don't think the Pacers would have an answer for Joel Embiid. And if the Sixers beat the Knicks, I imagine Joel Embiid is looking healthy enough, or at least he's looking good enough to go ahead and get them that win. So that would mean I think the Knicks are a way tougher matchup for him than Indiana. They've got nobody that can slow down Tyrese Maxey. I do think like the size of some of the wings with the Sixers is interesting too. Nick Nurse would be going up against Pascal Siakam, who of course he coached for a while, so he's got a little bit of that inside knowledge. Like the Pacers are really good, and if they get that series win, it's huge. But I think I take the Sixers in like 6 games here, maybe.
I agree, and I will put this out here because like I think we're both on the same line that like the Knicks could win that series, and I do think if the Knicks win, they also beat the Pacers. So I do agree with you. Whoever wins that Knicks Sixers series will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I do agree. Even if the Bucks somehow win, I think it's going to end up being Knicks.
I think either one of those teams could beat the Bucks. It depends on Giannis. Like, say Giannis comes back and looks insane in the Pacers series, I think they've got a good shot to make the conference finals. They're not a guarantee or anything like that, but I do think they'd be a harder out, assuming Giannis is healthy, than the Pacers would be. Also, the Sixers, I know they never made it to the conference finals, so we're now predicting something that's never happened before, but I think Nick Nurse is a different factor for them too. I like him as a coach better than a lot of the other coaches in the East. I do think Tom Thibodeau and Rick Carlisle are good coaches, but Nick Nurse has shown ability to scheme really well in these moments. He always gets the most out of his teams. And I just think this is a potentially favorable path for the Sixers. If they can get out of that first round series, build up a bit of momentum, I think this could be the year to finally get over the hump. So,
well, it's like you were saying, the path is just favorable. Like you have Giannis being hurt, you have the Pacers who are kind of like a little bit all over their place. They're not really playing to their potential. The Knicks are missing their second best player. So there's a lot of going into the Sixers' favor, like in this pass. So, and the Sixers technically are fully healthy. So, other than D'Anthony Melton's back being kind of weird, but
that's true. Also, no Robert Covington. Get well soon.
It's okay.
All right. Next up is Celtics versus Cavs. I think we're in agreement the Celtics win this one.
Yeah, but I do think the Cavs are going to make it interesting, though. I think this is more of like a 5 or 6 game series. I was going
to say 5. I think just because I don't feel like the Celtics are going to have that many problems as where the Cavaliers are going to get absolutely beat up playing the Magic. So I was going to go 5. I could if you want to go 6, we can go 6.
I lean 6 simply just because I think they don't really have. I mean, unless Derek White really turns up, I don't think they really have a lot of answers for Donovan Mitchell if he's hooping. And they do have Allen and Mobley to kind of, because the Celtics do play like a lot of that like slashing type of offense, you know, how Tatum and Brown kind of play. And even Derek White sometimes, he's kind of a slasher too. So I feel like they kind of have some answers for that with Mobley and Allen down low. But I think the Celtics are going to win. But I do think the Cavs can make it interesting, especially because if they come out of that Magic series and they're clicking like they should on paper, I think the series with the Celtics is a lot more interesting than people will give it credit for.
Yeah, we'll go with it in 6. Next up, going up, we have Nuggets versus Suns, a rematch of last year's second round. And I think the Nuggets go ahead and get the win again.
I think so too, simply because like, unlike the Lakers, like at least the Lakers have like LeBron and AD to kind of like tackle against Jokic. I just feel like
Nurkic is going to get cooked.
He'll get cooked. And it's not like Eubanks is going to do anything either. They just don't really have anyone. They don't have anyone to get rid of Jokic. And I think Jamal Murray will torch whoever's guarding them on the, the guard end. So I just don't think the Suns defensively, I think because the Wolves offense is kind of more centered around one player versus the Nuggets are kind of more well-rounded offensively. I think that's kind of like the big difference and why I think the Suns would fare a lot worse here against the Nuggets.
Yeah, Jokic has kicked Nurkic's butt pretty much every time they've played them in recent history. The Nuggets have, great defenders too, like Aaron Gordon. They could throw at Kevin Durant. They can throw KCP at Devin Booker. Peyton Watson. KCP has played like all defensive level defense this season. They've been incredible, and I just think Jokic is the best player in the series. The Suns have the next 2 guys, but then again, there's like playoff Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. The Suns team is good, but I don't think they could take down the Nuggets. What do you want to go with?
5.
5, 6, 5. We'll go 5.
I'm cool with either.
Yeah, I just don't think they have enough. They're not well-rounded enough to take down the Nuggets. Where with the Lakers lost that team. With the Lakers, like Anthony Davis, what he can do down low going up against Jokic and LeBron. It feels like to me they're a little bit of a tougher matchup.
I agree.
And then we get to the Thunder versus Mavericks series. This is one that would be very, very interesting. You've got Shea versus Luka, Kyrie going up against J-Dub, and then Chet down low. What can he do against Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively? These teams have only played once since the trade deadline, and that was that game where it was like one of the first games the Mavericks played after the deals, and they blew the Thunder out of the water. They had that like crazy performance. One of the other games they played this year, well, they did play on the last day of the season, but nobody was playing for Dallas, so I'm not taking that into account. The game before that was the game where the Thunder were up huge and then gave up that 30-0 run, but then still ended up winning. They've had weird games this year.
This would be a banger series too, I think.
This would be incredible. I think this goes 7 games probably either way. Some of my thoughts right off the bat with the Thunder are, I think the Thunder do have some good options to throw at Luke and Kyrie with Lou Dort. Shea's a good defender. J-Dub, I imagine, will get a little bit of those assignments too. Chet down low. Like the Mavericks have some bigger guys with like Lively and Gafford, but they don't have like that bruising big, like a Jokic with the Nuggets or like an Anthony Davis or like a Sabonis with the Kings. Like they don't have that guy that's going to post up and attack. So I think Chet would be pretty good in that scenario. They don't have like the size to really punish us for that. So I think the Thunder don't have that many disadvantages in this series, but then again, it does come to Luka's insane. Like he is ridiculous. I think Shea's going to have to compete with him to be the best player in this series for the Thunder to get the win. J-Dub is going to have to be a big time riser, and our guys have to knock down their shots. We talked about the Mavericks guys being pretty inconsistent. The Thunder have had a lot of really consistent shooters, but some of them haven't really been here before. So what are they going to look like? There's not as much experience with the Thunder as there is with the Mavericks. So there's things on either side. I'm biased. I think I lean Thunder in 7 just barely. It's like coin flip to me, to be honest, with this series. I think it could go either way. Honestly, I would like our matchup against the Clippers better than the Mavericks. If I had to pick a team that I think the Thunder work better against, it is LA, because I just don't think because we're like a younger kind of fast-paced team where the Clippers aren't really that type of squad. I think with Dallas, sure, they operate a lot slower because of Luka, but they have the ability to get out and run. Luka's a great transition player. Kyrie, of course, he torches everybody out there. So it's interesting. I think I would lean the Thunder slightly in 7, but let me know what your thoughts are.
I think I would probably lean Mavericks in 7, but because you let me have Philly over the Knicks, I'm cool for our bracket. We can be homered.
You know what's funny? I knew this was coming, and that's why I conceded. I was like, Philly can win in 7 because I'm going to go ahead and try and get back on the Thunder over here.
But I mean, I do agree. It's not like the Mavericks are going to kick y'all's butts. You know what I mean? Like, if that was the case, I'd just be straight up with you. I do agree with you that I think the Mavericks are an interesting matchup because of Luka. But like you were saying at the same time, though, there's so many teams in this Western Conference where they do have that bruising big. And the fact that you're not facing one, I think, is a big advantage. It'll just kind of come down to, like, are your guards and keep with their guards? Like, is Josh Giddey going to get playing time and then just be left wide open to shoot threes in that series? Yeah. Is Lou Dort going to be able to tame Luka or if he guards Kyrie, and vice versa? So it's just like, it's going to be a battle of the guards in this series. And while I do think the Mavericks have the better top end talent between Kyrie and Luka, I do think y'all have been more cohesive as a unit this season. So I could see the pick for the Thunder. It's just going to be very interesting because I do feel like these teams are both kind of like top heavy with their talent. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's going to be like Shea, J-Dub, Chet versus Luka, Kyrie, and then you're just gonna be like, what the heck are the other guys going to do? And
don't you dare sleep on Aaron Wiggins. And I know you, out of all people, won't sleep on Isaiah Joe.
I have a post. You can't see it, but I have a poster of him in my background,
like
up on my dresser. So I'll go with you for the Thunder, but I do think it's gonna be a banger series. I do think Luka's gonna average like 40 in this series if it gets to that.
If like anybody in the comments is like, I would go Mavericks in 7, I don't blame you at all. Like, I just think
same with the Knicks in 7 back then. Like,
I think the thing with these playoffs.
These series are going to be close. Like, we're going to be our homer bias here, but these are going to be good series.
Like because the Knicks could have easily won, and they could be this team in the conference finals now. It's just that we picked the Sixers in 7. Like, if it's going to 7 games, it means we think it's a coin flip. Like, we think it could go either way. I'm biased. Like, I lean towards the Thunder. We've been a better team on both sides of the ball this season. So I trust this a little bit more. Also, I think Jason Kidd's just a bad coach. I like Mark Daigneault
that is
in this situation a lot more.
Coach of the year, Mark Daigneault against him.
Shout out to Mark. I never coached in the playoffs before, but I think he'll be fine. So that's why I lean the Thunder as well. Just a small little thing there. It might be a biased pick, but I'm going to go Thunder in 7 games. And
something I've mentioned in a previous video, I'm very interested to see how Mark runs playoff rotations, because I do feel like his regular season rotations are sometimes kind of interesting. Not saying it's a bad thing, but they're just interesting. So I'm very curious to see if he runs some lineups that have a little bit more continuity to him, or if he's going to be all over the place sometimes. And I feel like he does run deep line. He runs deep rotations in the regular.
We do.
Like, you guys go 10, 11 deep a lot of nights.
Most nights we'll play 10 or 11 players. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if you all go more down to like the 8. Who do you think are your 3 off the bench if you do 8?
I would imagine it would be Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Case, and Wallace probably. And I think we'll go 9 because I imagine we'll play one of Jay Will or Ken Rich as like a backup big, depending if we go smaller big as well. I think Gordon Hayward could get some minutes in there too. But I think that's like kind of the 10
You're
guys.
Back to a 10 or 11, man.
That's the thing. Like, I could see us running a 10 or 11, but it's like, our stars play like 37, 38 minutes. And then a couple guys here and there just play like 2 or 3 for a moment. So it's not going to be like, I think it won't be a full expanded like 10 or 11 man rotation, but I could see some spurts where guys get minutes. I think it'll also depend, how does Josh Giddey look in a series, because he's been really good since around the trade deadline. He's been way better, but what's it going to look like in the playoffs when a team has all this time to game plan for him? That is one thing I also like for the Thunder too against the Mavericks, where some teams, like say the Lakers, for example, are an example of this. They could have put like 80 in the corner on Josh Giddey and just let him roam to really wreck us. The Mavericks played really far off Josh Giddey last time we played them, but Giddey has, I think, developed a better mentality, and we've developed better counters to that system since then. And they don't have that defender that scares me as much as someone that can just go out there and roam off with Josh Giddey and wreck us. So that's also something else too. So I think how Giddey's playing will also determine, who's in the closing lineups, how many minutes he plays, and how many minutes extra guys play. So, it's interesting. But that does set us up with our conference finals. Both our favorite teams end up here. Maybe it's bias talking, but it's Thunder Nuggets and Celtics Sixers. We'll start up here at the top. Thunder Celtics. It's the 1-2 seed matchup.
Thunder Celtics.
Thunder Nuggets. Excuse me. Yeah. Quick finals preview.
Is that your finals preview?
Yeah. Thunder. Oh my God, I almost did it again. Thunder versus the Nuggets is, I think it's because I keep seeing Celtics here on the screen, but Thunder Nuggets I also think is really interesting. The Thunder play the Nuggets really well this season. They have, some guards that can give them some problems between Shea and J-Dub. I also think we've got a lot more depth than the Nuggets do. That's one of the bigger concerns with the Nuggets, is they've got some good players off the bench like Christian Brown or Peyton Watson, but Reggie Jackson hasn't been great this season. Zeke Naji has been very disappointing. So their depth is a little bit worrisome.
DeAndre Jordan, bro.
NBA champion DeAndre Jordan coming off last year. I think if there's a moment where the lack of size and the lack of experience really catches up with the Thunder, it's going to be here. Because, Chet's done a great job against Jokic in a lot of their games, but it is playoff Jokic. We've got some options to slow down Jamal Murray, but also Aaron Gordon. I think he's a player that could kill us in this series.
I see that. Y'all don't really have an answer for him.
No, he's done it in the past. J-Dub has a little bit of that size, but obviously he's not the strength of Aaron Gordon. No. If there's any series where the size can really come at a disadvantage to us, I think it is here. As much as I want to pick the Thunder to go to the finals, if it makes it to this point, I think I'm going to pick the Nuggets to win this one. And I think I'd go in 6 games. I think I'd probably say.
I was going to say 6.
I think we definitely give them a fight. We're not going to just, bow out for nothing. I think this Thunder team is really complete. It's way better than people give it credit for. But I do think the Nuggets, if there's any team out there that's a brick wall for us, it could end up being them, just because they have all the advantages that people worry about with us. Aaron Gordon can roam off Josh Giddey, for example, and just wreck a lot of our offense. They don't really have that rim protection that could really deal with Shea, I don't think. But I think they have the defenders to make it difficult on him on the perimeter, like KCP. For sure. Aaron Gordon can go out there and, deal with J-Dub too if they need him to individually. Jokic, I think, he's not going to stop Chet by any means, but I think he's someone that he's got that physicality as well that can wear him down. So, yeah, I'm willing to go Nuggets in 6 here.
Yeah, man. Like you were saying, as much as I want to pick your boys, I do think there's a world where they could win that series. I just think with Jokic, it's just a terrible matchup, I think. And like you said, they've played him pretty well in the regular season, but playoff basketball is so different. And I think it's going to be those other guys with size, like the MPJs, the Aaron Gordons. Those are the guys that are going to make more of an impact, like when it comes to size than Jokic. Like, obviously, Jokic is going to make an impact, but I do think that fact that you guys do play relatively small 3 and 4, lineup, that it's going to really be shown when you play a Gordon and MPJ why the size is a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's It's a concern. I think this is, like I said, if what everyone is saying about us, I think this is where that would really catch up to us. Plus, having to have played the Mavericks in that series too, I think that's a barn burner of a series that could take a lot out of us.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll say that we fall here to the Nuggets in 6 games.
And I feel a similar trend coming in the next one.
Yep. Then we go over to Boston versus Philly, where again, one of our favorite teams is in here. Let me know what you think about Boston versus Philly, and then I'll give my thoughts.
So the issue with this series is that Joel Embiid is going to have played 2 playoff series on the bum knee, hopefully feeling better. But I just don't think anyone can really keep up with Boston. Like they have been kind of choke artists in the past, and they have been known to not finish the deal. Tatum has had some up and down playoff success. I'm pretty sure Nick Nurse knows that Jaylen Brown can only dribble with one hand, but I really do think that the Celtics are just a 3-level scoring team, whether it's, perimeter, mid-range, attacking the basket, whatever. I just don't think the Sixers are going to have enough answers for them offensively. I think they're just too well-rounded, so they're going to probably take us down. But I do think that Joel Embiid could feast in the series. However, Al Horford always owns us as well. And so as long as that man's in the league, I do think
he's the Joel Embiid stopper.
The crazy thing is too, man, Al Horford would probably have averaged like 10 to 15 minutes a game up until this point, and I guarantee you he would average like almost 30 minutes a game if it came to the series. I guarantee it. If it gets to that point, everyone keep an eye on how many minutes Horford plays in the first 2 series versus this one. I'm just gonna tell you now, it's gonna be probably doubled because he just is always. It's like him and Bam, man. They just always play Embiid pretty well. So
yeah, they've also got like Derek White, Andrew Holiday to throw at Tyrese Maxey, which is concerning. Yeah. They've got length on the perimeter. This Celtics seems ridiculous. I think they would go ahead and win this series. I don't think the Sixers are going to bow out easily or anything like that. I think this would be a 5 or I think I would go 6 games. I think they would put up a better fight or about the similar fight to. I picked the Sixers in 6. Celtics in 6 here to beat the Sixers. I don't think they're going to go out easy by any means. I think the Sixers team is really good. Like, if you would ask me, if we started the playoffs like middle of January, I probably would have picked the Sixers to go to the Eastern Conference Finals as well. As long as they avoided Boston, that's the key to them making this run here. It does come to an end in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, which if it was like any team that makes it to this point, I don't see anybody in the East beating Boston. I think the only team that can beat Boston at this point is someone that comes out of the West, which, as we picked here, it is Nuggets versus Celtics. In our NBA Finals, it would be what we could have had last year if the Celtics won that game 7. Denver, of course, gets back, repeats as West champs. The Celtics get over the hump, and this would be an insane series between these 2 teams.
Real quick, before we get into it, what's your vibes finals pick? Like
vibes finals.
You can't pick Nuggets or Celtics. Who's your finals pick? We got to each, so that way when there's an upset, inevitably we can have something to go after.
My vibes pick.
Mine is Philly Mavericks.
Thunder Sixers.
Thunder Sixers. All right, I'm with it.
A large part of that is just because that would be insane for us.
All right, one more. You can't have either of your favorite teams in it. So you can't have
one more vibes pick. Look at these teams real quick. I think I would go Mavs Bucks.
I already picked Mavs, so I'm gonna go Lakers Cavs.
Lakers Cavs. The LeBron revenge series.
I don't know, man. Just we need to throw 2 out there just in case they somehow happen. We can clip it like Lakers. It'll just be this, and I'll be like Lakers Cavs. And
I'll
like,
Photoshop.
How did he know?
I'll Photoshop right over the NBA Finals thing at the end there and be like, "Whoa, how do we predict this?" Okay.
I don't know if you've seen those accounts, but the ones that like they tweet out like every potential finals, matchup.
Yep.
Like, but they tweet out like 10 years ago. So then they like someone finds a tweet and it's like, oh, this guy tweeted out on April of 2013 that the Nuggets Celtics would be in the, you know what I mean? They tweet out like every scenario with how many games and stuff like that. And then so that way somebody finds it and they're like, oh my God.
I'm going to do it before this year's playoffs in the middle of one of these nights. I'm just gonna go on my main account. I'm just gonna tweet.
Dude, when you're on the plane to OKC, that's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna tweet out every single. You're gonna make a burner, name it 5 cone, and just tweet out every single potential playoff matchup in the games, and then you'll just like retweet it from your account. Like, how did this guy know?
That Orlando Magic Sacramento Kings matchup is gonna go crazy in the finals.
The bonus finals MVP. Let's go.
Be the first finals to be on NBA TV for all 7 games. But yeah, so we got the NBA Finals here. It's Nuggets versus Celtics. It's not a crazy pick or anything. This is the pick I think almost everybody's going to have, I would imagine.
This is a very chalk pick.
which is crazy because we picked like a 6-7 to win in the semifinals. We picked, the Nuggets or the Suns to win here. Like, even if we didn't pick the Thunder, I think we would have still picked the Nuggets to beat the Mavericks. It just feels like this is kind of inevitable. These are the two best teams in the NBA at this point. I think if you ask almost anybody, they'll tell you that. There is the possibility for upsets, like, the Thunder maybe put things together. If the Celtics deal with injuries, I think the Sixers could make it. I think the Knicks could make it, or the Bucks. Any of those three teams I think could make it out of the East. So we'll have to wait and see. But for right now, it's the chalk pick with before any injuries occur or anything like that. Makes a lot of sense here. And I think this is a 7-game series. I think these two teams are really, really good. It's a battle between, if you ask me who the better overall team is, it probably is the Boston Celtics with that starting five they have. The depth isn't great for either team, but I think the Celtics have I think their starting lineup has more talent overall, although the Nuggets have a bit more cohesion. The Celtics love to go ahead and troll, while the Nuggets really don't do that. They kind of just get business done. Jokic is the best player in this series, but after him, it's Jason Tatum. Then is it Jaylen Brown? Is it Jamal Murray? Then Porzingis is in that equation too, and Derek White is great. They're going to have two great guard defenders to throw at Jamal Murray in the first place. There is a lot of different cross matchups here. How does Joe Mazzulla coach in the finals? He's never been here before. What's your vibe on this?
Like you were saying, the Celtics troll, so I'm going to go Nuggets. Just because the Celtics troll, and I'm going to hop on the bandwagon, and that way, when the Celtics lose, I don't look like a complete fraud. I mean,
Gotcha.
yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's kind of like what you're saying. I think Kristaps can, body Jokic, but I do feel like Jokic is that's kind of a monster of a guy to go against if you're Boston. And it's just not really something you really see typically from, other teams that they play all the time. So, I don't know, man. It's just I think the Nugget experience and the Celtics like to troll. I can see it, but picking the Celtics really does make sense because if I'm looking at the teams on paper, you have Tatum and Brown. There's not really sure, Aaron Gordon I guess could guard one of them, but they don't really have a lot of the good wing matchups. Michael Porter Jr. is like a traffic cone most of the time, and then like you were saying, they have Drew and they have Derek White to put on Jamal Murray, and on paper it should be Celtics all day. But it just seems like the Celtics have been on paper favorites forever, and they just never have seen to get it done. And I remember your tweet got clowned because you were like, this Celtics team's different. And people were like, oh, that's what they say every year. And then they ended up trolling and losing. Mm-hmm. So I do think they make the finals.
When this Celtics team is nowhere near the same one that
100% agree.
Nowhere near.
I don't know why you're getting clowned so hard, but because I agree with you 100%. But I'm going to go with the Nuggets just because I don't want Celtics to win.
I've almost become radicalized to hope the Celtics win this, assuming it's not the Thunder, because I want to come back to that tweet and be like, y'all clown me like crazy for this.
That's true. So what, are you picking the Celtics for your agenda?
I think I am tempted to pick Boston here, but at the same time, if you pick Nuggets, how many games would you say it goes?
It's 7 regardless, I think.
That's how I feel too. I think this goes 7 games. The Nuggets beat the Celtics in their 2 matchups, but they were both pretty close, if I remember correctly. Tatum struggled in a couple of those games. He's going to have to be a lot better. He does worry me. Is he able to be that guy again, going up against Jokic as the other best player in that series? I don't know. It's so tough. One thing that I also am thinking about is I feel like the Nuggets path here is really difficult as well, where they have to go through the Lakers and then the Suns and then the Thunder, whereas the Celtics, sure they have to play the Heat, but they're probably not going to have Jimmy Butler, and the Cavaliers are tough, but I think I still think the Celtics win pretty comfortably. The Sixers are really good, but I think the path for the Celtics is a little bit easier too. But at the same time, with the Celtics, I do worry about the health. Is Kristaps going to be healthy that full run? And that is something that concerns me too. I don't know, because it's always felt like it's going to be these two teams. This is did we both predict this? I remember I predicted this to be the finals matchup. Can't remember if you went Boston.
I might have picked the Lakers. I might have picked one of the LA teams. I think I picked an LA team in Boston. I want to say. I think I might have picked Clippers, Celtics.
Okay. To me, this has always felt like the matchup that was going to happen. And so, I've continuously thought about it, but I've never come to a conclusion because, again, on paper, the Celtics feel like the better team. But when you take a look at the Nuggets and what they've done before, I just don't know if I can bet against them. Sure, the bench is a bit weaker, but they've got the best player in the series. They've got a stacked roster. They've got great defenders in their own right, and they've beaten Boston both times they played this season. So I don't know. I think my heart tells me to go with the Celtics, that they will go ahead and finally get this thing done. It's their year. But my head tells me that the Nuggets just can't really be beaten by many teams and that they're going to win this one in 7 games. So I think I'm good to go Nuggets in 7.
Ooh, I'm with it.
Okay. So we've got the Denver
Our
Nuggets.
tiebreaker.
The tiebreaker is if you do like their bracket challenge, it's how many points will be scored. Game 1 of the NBA Finals. How many points do you think are going to be scored?
238.
238. Ryan said it. So what do you? The final score is like what? Like
121 to 117.
Ooh, okay.
Game goes to overtime.
Ooh, OT game 1. That'd be nice. But yeah, this is our bracket. I'll go ahead and recap it real quick so you can take a look and clown us when we get it wrong. In the West, it is the Thunder defeat either the Pelicans or the Kings, which, by the way, that game's going on right now.
Yeah, what's the score? I mean, look.
31-31. It's ugly at the moment. There's 7 minutes, 54 left in the second quarter.
I was going to say it's got to be getting close to halftime, and they're in the 30s. It doesn't sound too good.
Yeah, it's been Sabonis and Fox going up against Valanciunas for the most part, as well as like a little bit of Ingram, a little bit of McCollum, like kind of just more sporadic contributions for the Pelicans. Ingram's 2 of 6 right now. He's not been great.
He's hurting, bro. That sucks.
Yeah, CJ is trying to go ahead and knock off our doubt for him. He's got 4 points, 2 of 3 shooting at the moment. So shout out to CJ.
I mean, it's still only 4 points as the team's best score. So
we'll take the efficiency. We'll take it.
Yeah.
But the Thunder take down either one of those teams in 5. The Clippers lose to the Mavericks in 6 games with the Kawhi Leonard injury lingering. The Suns, as the nightmare matchup for the Wolves, win in 7. Nuggets beat the Lakers in 6. And then we have Nuggets beating the Suns in 5, Thunder beating the Mavs in 7, and Nuggets beat the Thunder in 6 to go to the finals. In the East, Celtics in 5 over the Heat, and they beat the Cavaliers, who beat the Magic in 6 games of their own. The Pacers beat the Bucks in 6 games. A lot of 6-game series. We picked a lot of those. Sixers win in 7. Then they beat the.
Then they win in 6. Oh, I see what we did there.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I mean it's destined now. And then the Celtics.
76ers as the 7 seed win in 7, then beat the 6 seed by 6. Maybe they're going to sweep the Celtics, and that's too much destiny right there.
That does feel like almost a weird amount of number connections there. I'm impressed you pulled that out of your bag there. But yeah, the Celtics end up beating the Sixers in 6 games again. And then our NBA Finals is Nuggets against Celtics in 7 games. This one feels like such a toss-up to me. I think this would be an incredible all-time level series between these two teams.
That'd be fun.
I think it's just we feel a little bit safer with the Nuggets. So Denver would end up repeating in this, which doesn't happen too often, but they feel like a team that's very capable of it. They were the favorites coming into the year for a reason. They've got the best player in the world. And I mean, Jokic, if he has 2 rings back-to-back, 2 finals MVPs, I would imagine he's going to be a 3-time MVP. It feels like after this season, awards go ahead and get announced. He's very rapidly climbing up to like one of the top 20, 15 players of all time. It feels like he's getting way up there.
It's going to be Jokic versus MJ instead of LeBron. So watch out.
It's going to be Jokic.
Our children are going to be arguing who is better, Jokic or MJ.
Oh my God. What a timeline we'd be in. But yeah, those are our playoff predictions. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. Who do you have winning it all and in how many games? What are some series picks that you didn't like as much? What were our favorite picks of yours? Just let us know what you think about this. We'll be back again sometime during the next week to talk more playoff hoops at some point. Maybe I could, do a podcast at some point from Oklahoma City. I'll be there, of course, watching the Thunder games. So make sure to tune into my channel if you want to hear a little bit about that. As always, subscribe here to the podcast channel, leave a like, rate 5 stars, download on Spotify and all that stuff. If you made it to the end here, what's something you can drop down below? Comment Sixers Thunder Finals down below.
Yeah, I'm with it. I was going to say DeAndre Jordan Finals MVP, but I like yours better.
You could also comment that. I don't know. He's going to get traded to the Sixers halfway through. But
that's why. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we've got for y'all. But we appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Appreciate all the support throughout the regular season. We're going to have a lot of playoff coverage coming in too. Maybe we'll try to do a live podcast at some point. That'd be pretty cool if we've got some time coming up. But yeah, we appreciate y'all as always. Take care. Ryan, you got anything you want to wrap up with?
I'm tired, bro.
Ryan's tired.
My yawn count's probably like 8, and it's not because Cone it makes me tired. I just wake up at 6 every morning, and I have to be up again at 6 tomorrow. So I'm just a sleepy boy. So
yeah,
putting my tiredness on the line for you guys. So better be thankful.
Also, drop a good night, Ryan, down below in the comments. Wish him sweet dreams as he gets ready for his
sweet dreams. I need it.
His early wake up tomorrow. But we appreciate y'all as always. Take care. Peace.